We can use a Venn diagram to find the greatest common factor and the least common multiple. In order to do that, we need to begin with factor trees and prime factorization. So let's start with an example. If I want to find the greatest common factor, or the GCF, of 81 and 42, I'm going to begin by finding the prime, each number's prime factorization. So let's start using a factor tree over here. So I know that 81 is 9 times 9. Now, 9 is not composite, so I need to break this down even further. So I get to 9 by multiplying 3 times 3, and the same with this 9 over here. Now 3 is prime, so I'm going to circle my prime numbers, and I'm done. Let's move on over to the 42. So I know that I can multiply 6 times 7, and I know that 7 is prime, so I'm going to stop with 7, but let me go to the 6, and I know that 6 is made up of 2 times 3. Alright, so now I have my prime factorization for 81 and 42. The next thing I'm going to do is draw my Venn diagram. So Venn diagrams always have a shared space. Okay, this is going to be my circle for 81 and this for 42. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find all the prime factors that they share, and those are going to go in the middle. So if I look here, I see that 81 has a 3 and 42 also has a 3. So they share a 3. So that 3 is going to go in the middle. Now, when I look at 42, I see a 2 and a 7, and 81 doesn't have those factors. So 2 and 7 will go only in the area that covers 42. And then I have 3 3s left over for 81, so those 3s will go here. Okay. Now, if you notice, this 3 applies both to 81, this 3 in the middle applies both to 81 and to 42. And if we look at the circles by themselves, we can see that our numbers, when multiplied, or our factors, still add up to 81. 3 times 3, 9 times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. Or if I want to look at 42, if I just want to look at this circle right here, 3 times 2 is 6, times 7 is 42. Okay, now when we find the GCF of two numbers, we want to look at what is in the middle, what is shared, and that's right here. So the GCF of 81 and 42 is 3. It's rather small. Now the LCM, we can use everything that we have so far. All we want to do is multiply everything that we see in both circles. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 2 times 7. Okay, so let's see. So we know that this is 81 times 2 gives us 162. Let me put the equal sign there. And then we're going to do 162 times 7. And we end up with 1,134. And this is the beauty of our Venn diagrams. If we were to write out the multiples of 81 and 42 in order to find the least common multiple, it would take us a very long time to get to 1,134. So this saves us a lot of time. Let's look at another example. If I have the numbers 15 and 90, and I want to find the GCF and the LCM, step number 1 is going to be to create a factor tree. Now, earlier we talked about the fact that there are different models to use to find the prime factorization. So if you would like, I can do this example with using the ladder to find the prime factorization. So let's start with 15. So with 15, remember we said that the number here has to be prime. So I'm going to put my 3 times 5, and I'm actually done, so that was really quick. So let's move on to 90. Okay, 90, I know I can start with 2, and 2 times 45 gives me 90, but 90 is not prime, it's composite. So I'm going to multiply this, or I'm going to use 3 times 15 to get 45, and 15 is still composite, So 3 times 5, and I'm done. Now, like I said before, once we get to this part, we want to then create our Venn diagram. So here's the circle for 15, and here's the circle for 90. And remember, we want to make sure that we have a part that overlaps so that we can see which prime factors they share. So here's 15, here's 90. Okay, let's think about some factors that they share. If I look over here, I notice that they share a 3. So I'm going to cross out the 3 here and cross it out here. And my 3 is going to go in the middle because they both share a 3. And they also share a 5. Okay? Now 15, actually, that's it. 15 doesn't have any factors, prime factors all to itself. But 90 does. 90 has 2 and 3. Okay, now we have filled in our Venn diagram, so we're going to find the GCF. And if you remember, I said that to find the GCF, all we want to do is look at the numbers or the prime factors that they share. So they share 3 and 5. So we're going to multiply those, 3 times 5, and the GCF is 15. Now to find the LCM, we multiply all the numbers in the entire diagram. So we're going to do 3 times 5 times 2 times 3. So 3 times 5 times 2 times 3. And I know these aren't in order, I'm just looking at them as they are set up in this circle, in the Venn diagram. Okay, so 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30, times 3 is 90. And there's our answer.